Good morning. In this video, we're going to briefly look at the issue of the word justification and how the faith works people constantly wrest it, always trying to make it refer to a theological issue, which is God justifying man because of imputed righteousness. The actual word, if you go to 18:28, the first point is the act of justifying, or showing to be just or conformable to law, rectitude or propriety, vindication, defense. In other words, before men. It's showing that the individual has been vindicated. He's shown before men that he truly was keeping just before the law. He was a just man. And we see example of that in 1 Timothy 3:16. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit. That doesn't do with the salvation. That has to do that no one could accuse Jesus Christ of breaking the law. He was justified before men. And that's the justification you're seeing in James 2. That type of justification. Now all these guys want to wrest the scriptures, ignore the primary meaning of justification. It takes a theological turn in with Paul, and he makes it with the imputed righteousness. Then God declares you justified based on his own imputed righteousness. He doesn't see you; he sees the imputed righteousness in you, and then says he's justified, vindicated, because he sees that imputed righteousness. That has to do with salvation, eternal salvation. James 2 is talking about being vindicated before man. Well, Rahab did same thing. Rahab vindicated herself before men by acting on her faith. She acted on her faith, and therefore she showed her faith, and therefore it was vindicated. She wasn't saved eternally by what she did. She was saved physically. But that physical salvation, the fact that what she did out of her faith, which is why she was in the Hebrews 11, showed her faith that she really believed, and that glorified God. And that's why she's in chapter 11 in Hebrews. So the vindication is the issue in Paul and James is talking about showing one's faith to mankind, which in turn shows in fact that you're glorifying God because of that. So men can say, yeah, this is truly, this is someone who is following God. And that's exactly what they did. So the act of justification has two aspects to it, which these guys always want to ignore. And you see that with Robert Breaker in his Brain Dead responses. And he goes to Ezekiel 18. And they say, well, this guy does this, he dies. And if they assume dying, they have to take that assumption, if you die, then therefore you go into hell or torments. No. He says you could die to sin unto death as a saved person, just like you can die to sin unto death today as a saved person. They just put that assumption in there. That's what that's what they have to. They have to put that, sneak in that presupposition. So the issue of justification between Paul and James is a simple one. One has to deal with one type of definition, a theological definition, which deals with justification by God. The only way you're justified by man is justified before God is receiving imputation of Christ's righteousness. God's righteousness in the Old Testament, which would allow God to say justified, vindicated, because he sees his own righteousness. In the case of James, it follows along 1 Timothy 3:16, where man sees your righteousness in action, and therefore that glorifies God. They see faith in action. And that vindicates man, saying that man truly was a believer. That woman was truly a believer by what she did. Rahab acted out her faith. She acted on her faith. She's a believer long before that. But she showed her faith to man and rescued physically her family from disaster, from destruction, by what she did. Abraham showed his faith by willing to sacrifice Isaac. He showed his faith, and what does that show? That shows up in Hebrews 11. So these guys, it's interesting they avoid looking at the 1828 definition when he gets to justification. Very interesting how they avoid that. They want to make all justification deal with the issue of eternal salvation. But 1 Timothy 3:16 isn't dealing with eternal salvation, clearly. The Lord didn't need to be saved. He's talking about being vindicated. The Lord proved by his actions that he was a just man, perfect man, God in the flesh. No one could accuse him of breaking any law, any rule, or legitimately do so. They could try to. So therefore, he was justified by the Spirit because he broke nothing. He followed the law exactly, and therefore, in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of man, he was truly justified and perfect. And no one could accuse him of sin. So, these guys deliberately ignore the English language and the importance of the English language and applying it consistently throughout the scriptures. And they all went to Ezekiel 18. That little kid running to Ezekiel 18. Ignoring the fact there's no faith in Ezekiel 18. Is that what we're talking about? So, but people dying, getting wiped out in the wrath that comes. So stop and put this up. Amen. Thank you.